Hi friends, since we're studying Australia, I wanted to read this book to you. It's called Colors of Australia by Lynn Answorth Olowski, illustrated by Janice Lee Porter. The Colors of Australia. Introduction. Australia, which is often officially known as the Commonwealth of Australia, is known as the land down under. The country lies in the southern hemisphere so far south that it appears to be on the underside of the globe. Australia is one of the largest countries in the world and is the only country that is also a continent. Most Australians live on the southeast coast, where the land is fertile and plenty of rain falls. Few people live on the rugged, dry land in the center of the country. Canberra is Australia's capital. It lies near the southeast coast, just south of Sydney, Australia. There's Sydney, and then there's Canberra. Canberra is Australia's capital. Many Australians speak English, but many of the Aborigines, people whose ancestors have lived in Australia for thousands of years, still speak their native languages. The Australian flag has a navy-colored background. You know what navy is, like that dark, rich blue color? The large seven-pointed Commonwealth star stands for the 6 states of Australia and the country's territories. The 5 stars on the right stand for the Southern Cross. This is the best-known constellation in the Southern Hemisphere, which is the half of the world where Australia is found. In the upper left corner of the flag is a small Union Jack, the flag of Great Britain. You know that's in Europe, right? This stands for the connection between Australia and Britain. Australia was once a group of British colonies. In 1901, Britain gave the colonies their independence, and they became one country, the Commonwealth of Australia. Britain's king or queen is still considered to be Australia's ruler, but this ruler has no real power in Australia. The country is independent. Oops. Cream. A cream color is kind of like a light tan color. Flocks of hundreds and hundreds of cream-colored sheep can be found in every one of Australia's states. Sheep were among the passengers on the first ship of European settlers which arrived from Great Britain in 1788. By the early 1800s, Australians had discovered that their land, with its wide open spaces, was ideal for raising sheep. About the same time, the demand for wool was growing in Britain, so sheep ranching became an important industry for Australia. The growing wool industry brought many new settlers to the country. The number of sheep in Australia has grown to more than 160 million. About 3/4 of the sheep are merinos, which are known for their high-quality wool. Australia produces more wool than any other country in the world. Red. At the center of Australia is an enormous lump of sandstone called Ayers Rock. It turns red, fiery red at sunrise and sunset. The red color comes from iron in the sandstone. Ayers Rock is a very popular place in Australia, and it's a very spiritual place. Ayers Rock is known by the Aborigines. Those are the Aborigines, the natives of Australia. Gold. Cries of gold rang out in Australia in 1851. That year, prospectors found gold in the colonies of New South Wales and Victoria. Thousands of people came to Australia with the hope of striking and hitting it rich with their gold. But this life of being a miner was not easy. The work was hard and dirty, and water was scarce. Most people didn't get rich, but they decided to stay in Australia anyway. During the 10 years the gold rush lasted, the population of Australia nearly tripled. Excuse me. Aqua. British Sea Captain James Cook sailed the ship into the calm aqua waters of Australia. Botany Bay in April of 1770. At that time, the only people who knew much about Australia were the Aborigines. Several years later, Australia's first European settlers set sail from England for Botany Bay. Most of these people were British prisoners being punished for many minor crimes. They stopped for a short time at Botany Bay, but soon found a better harbor a bit farther north. There, the settlers founded Port Jackson, Australia's first European colony. Port Jackson was later renamed Sydney. Oh, that's Sydney, Australia, Australia's largest city. White. The white roof of the Sydney Opera House looks like a ship's sails billowing in the wind. The beautiful building stands on Sydney's harbour in Australian city of Sydney. The Sydney Opera House was officially opened in 1973 by Queen Elizabeth. I'd like to visit there. Green. Australia's most common tree is the eucalyptus tree, which usually has long, narrow, leathery leaves, and it's one of the tallest trees. Eucalyptus trees, which Australians call gum trees, can be as tall as 25-story buildings. They're found all over Australia, from the tropical regions on the coast to the deserts to the center of the continent. Eucalyptus trees provide food for Australia's koalas. Koalas look like bears, but are usually related to kangaroos. They're marsupials, remember? A koala will eat more than 2 pounds of eucalyptus leaves every day. The leaves have so much oil in them that koalas can go for a long time without even drinking water. Yellow. The traditional paintings of Australia's Aborigines are often the rich golden yellow color. The other colors used most often are red, black, and white. They use pipe clay, charcoal, and a mineral called ochre. Ancient Aboriginal art can be found throughout Australia on natural surfaces such as rocks and cave walls. The Aborigines were Australia's first people. The Europeans treated the Aborigines badly back a long time ago in the 1800s, and there was a fear that they would die out. But conditions for Aborigines have improved, and the people will probably never regain all that they lost. Painting is a style of their ancestors. It's just a way that they try to keep their traditions alive. They deserve that. Gray. When you think of Australia, you probably picture a leaping gray furred kangaroo. There are many different kinds of kangaroos in Australia, but the best known are the gray kangaroos and the red kangaroo. In spite of their name, many red kangaroos have gray fur. And they have powerful long back legs and short front legs. The animals can grow to be 6 feet tall and can weigh more than 100 pounds. Kangaroos are marsupials, a group of animals that raise their newborn babies in a pouch in the front of the female's body. Other marsupials found in Australia are the koala, the wombat, and the Tasmanian devil. Australia is one of the few places in the world where kangaroos roam wild. Besides Australia, kangaroos are only native to New Guinea and a few neighboring lands. islands. The kangaroo is such an important symbol of Australia that it appears on everything from the country's coat of arms to many of its coins and stamps. Coral. Many of the corals that make up Australia's Great Barrier Reef are coral in color. The reef is also many other colors, including yellow, purple, green, and blue. The coral reef is a wall of coral that ends at the surface of the water. Coral reefs are formed by tiny creatures called polyps. When polyps die, they leave behind their outer skeleton, which is called coral. Other polyps attach to these skeletons. When they die, their skeletons add to the reef. That's how a coral reef grows. You learn something new every day, right? Many creatures live around the coral reef, including sponges, starfish crabs, sharks, turtles, and giant clams. That's just a little book about the color of Australia. And before we go today, I want to read about what children in Australia do with their teeth when their teeth come out. Aboriginal Australians. My family helps me put my tooth inside the shoot of a pandanus plant so that when the pandanus grows into a tree, my tooth will grow too. There are spirits in the pandanus leaves that will look after me while my tooth is growing. Other children in Australia, I put my tooth under my pillow and wait for the tooth fairy to take my tooth and bring me some money. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? In New Zealand, I put my tooth under my pillow. My parents will collect the tooth and give me a small gift. Then they will throw my tooth into the mighty river, the Waikato. My tribe is named after that river. So teeth fall out every day all over the world. And we have read this whole book about what people do with teeth all over the world. And we are finished with this book now. We've read the whole thing throughout the school year. Thank you, friends.